The Kona Manta Ray Dive has been on my bucket list ever since my dad showed me his video footage from over 25 years ago. And well, on our last trip to Hawaii, I finally got to do it. And let me tell you, it was nothing short of spectacular. Stick around and let me help you have that same type of experience. What's up, everybody? It's Nick from Who Dat Travel. Now, before we start here, let me tell you why you should even remotely listen to some random dude on YouTube about how to scuba dive. Now, I have been diving for almost 30 years. I hold 8 different certifications with NAUI, including technical diver and also Trimix. So I've done a ton of diving around the world, and you know what? I'd like to say I know a good dive when I see one, and this dive was absolutely one of those. But the prep work was really part of it, which got us into a fantastic situation, and I'm glad that I did it. Now, the first thing that I did was I called my local dive shop and I talked to those guys because you know what? They do this for a living, and I asked them who they would recommend and if they'd been out to Hawaii anytime recently. Now, they gave me a couple names and I called them, and the one that absolutely blew me away was Kona Diving Company. And I am definitely glad that I went with them. And here are the reasons. They definitely tried to vet the divers before you hit the water to see if you even needed a refresher course. Right now, because of COVID restrictions, there were fewer people on the boat, and also they only offered the 2-tank dive. So we went ahead with a 2-tank dive, and it was a fantastic time. I would recommend calling the dive company and booking as soon as possible because things do fill up because of these restrictions. Of course, there's a little bit of paperwork to fill out that you have to go to the dive shop for. A lot of it can be done actually through your phone, so they send out different forms for you to fill out. As always, don't forget to bring your C card. After all the formalities are taken care of course you will meet them at the docks. Now, the dive master, of course, will set up your gear. Now, personally, I bring my own reg and also mask, but I rent everything else, just how I am. And I prefer to set up my own gear. If you do use DIN, you are going to want to bring an adapter. Now, the first dive was in the same spot that you went to for the Manta Ray dive. It really gave you the lay of the land, and it was amazing how much it changed between night and day. Well, you'd say it was a night and day difference, actually. Yes, obviously I'm a diver. I'm easily amused with the puns. On the way out, of course, the dive guide gave you your briefing, what you expected, what your depths were going to be, and how long we expected. They also went through some common hand signs, and of course, how they were going to ask you how much air you had left, and all of the basics. As you can see, we did exit the boat via giant stride on the starboard side. Now, there was only one exit, so everybody kind of had to shuffle around. But we were in 2 groups of 3 actually, so very, very small groups, which was wonderful because you really did get some one-on-one attention with your dive master. And as you can see here, we were only in about 30 or 40 feet. The first dive is a maximum depth of about 75 feet, so you do have plenty of time to explore the bottom. Now, this is actually what they referred to as Grass Eel Cove. The reason this place is called that, well, of course, there are a ton of grass eels. Now, if you've never seen one, they actually kind of pop out of the sand and just kind of hover there. But if you get anywhere near them, they just disappear back into the sand. It's really kind of cool. This area is also known for all of the other type of eels. As you can see here, a spotted moray. Really beautiful creatures. Now, they get a bad rap. I'm sure that some of you know that they are vicious. Well, they're not vicious. When they're moving their mouths, they're breathing. They have actually horrible eyesight, but their sense of smell is quite amazing. So really, they're just trying to see if you have food on you. Now, we were told about an eel that has a unique style of hunting. He actually will camp out at the campfire, and we'll talk about the campfire a little bit later, during the Manta dive, and we'll just kind of grab fish. Now, I thought that was absolutely ingenious. As you can see, these eels are pretty accustomed to divers. He really didn't mind all of us around. My biggest suggestion for this dive is just get used to it. There is not a lot of current at all. It was a very, very calm dive, and a very easy dive in general. But just take your time and take a look at all of the coral around and all of the fish and wildlife. It is really, there's abundance of it to just relax and get used to the water. Now, as for exiting the water, it is your standard climb up the ladder on the back of the boat, and of course the captain is there to help you with your fins and make sure you get on all right. After that, the captain becomes the bartender. Well, okay, not the bartender, but he has a variety of different drinks. They also had a pre-packaged little kind of sack lunch that had an Uncrustable in it and some chips and those types of things. They also did have some hot soup. And as you can see, we had one of the best sunsets that I had on the entire island in the 2 weeks while I was on the boat. It was simply breathtaking. Now, of course, you are not the only ones on the water. There are a bunch of different boats there that are now waiting for the nighttime so that we can get going on the night dive. So a little bit about how all of this works for the Manta Ray Dive. Now, you obviously have to do your at least hour of surface interval time, so you get to sit and just stare at a beautiful sunset. Well, let's hope. But when it gets dark, well, you hit the water. But here's the thing, you only have, by law, 45 minutes of downtime. So what Kona Diving Company does is they actually wait a little bit. They don't get in the water right away and get around that campfire. Now in the distance you can see that kind of glowing area. Well, that's where all of the other boats have already been, and getting all that plankton sitting there for those manta rays to come and eat. So they actually wait a little bit, and when we hit the water, we were lucky enough to start swimming over to a campfire. Now those campfires are 4 or 5 very large, very expensive lights that are just bringing the plankton in. But on our way, we were lucky to be visited, well, by a dolphin. Now he sat and he played with us for probably a good 5 minutes, but some of us wanted to get over to the manta rays, so we didn't spend too long with him. Now, Kona Diving Company does give everybody a flashlight, and they ask you to leave it on because, well, if you're not used to a night dive and you're not used to holding on to a flashlight, it's much easier to find a flashlight that's turned on than one that is turned off. And, well, lights aren't cheap. So, anyway, after we played with the dolphin for a little bit, we went over, and you are extra weighted. So you just sit on the bottom, on your knees, Indian style, if your buoyancy is all right. If not, and you want to sit on your cross-legged or Indian style, they'll actually bring you a rock to hold you down a little bit. But the main thing is that you get to sit here and watch this unbelievable ballet of the manta rays. Now, we were absolutely blessed with the amount of manta rays that we had. We had in the neighborhood of 15 different manta rays, and they are all coming to feed on that plankton. And you can see that plankton in the water in these shots here. That kind of cloudiness is plankton that is attracted by the lights, and of course that attracts the manta rays. They have to eat, and they only eat plankton. They have to eat on average 10% of their body weight, which some of these manta rays are 11 feet across and weigh in excess of 1,200 pounds. So quick math there, that's 120 pounds of plankton. That's tiny. They are one of the, if not the best filter feeders in the world. Now, a couple things here. There are Vegas rules. Vegas rules means they can touch you, but you can't touch them. And they're, as I said, almost 1,200 pounds. They can bump into you pretty well. Now, as I said, you have a flashlight or a torch. That has to be not pointed across or at them because you've got this big campfire in the middle. You hold that above your head. As you can see here, some of the people are kind of going across, and that kind of blinds the people on the other side of the campfire. So by keeping it up, This also allows for some close encounters, shall we say, with the manta rays. Now, you want to keep it above your head, because if you keep it at shoulder level, those manta rays are actually going to bump into you, and they're 1,200 pounds. They will win that fight. So it is overall an amazing trip. I would recommend it to anyone that wants to do it. If you want to snorkel, they do a fantastic job there. Now, they will actually put a surfboard with lights underneath it to help bring in the manta rays closer there. The dolphin, I guess, did play around with some of the snorkelers. A lot of the snorkelers are going down to the Sheridan area now. They're kind of trying to make sure that the divers are at the airport, and the Sheridan has most of the snorkelers. So that is something to think about there as well. But honestly, hands down, with all of the dive operations that I've used, I would recommend Kona Diving Company without a doubt. They're a fantastic group, and our dive masters did a fantastic job. So that's it, guys. If you want to do a Kona diving excursion, absolutely call them. But the Manta Ray dive is a must-do, and check it off your bucket list. Again, I'm Nick for Who Dat Travel. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a huge thumbs up. Smash that like button if that's what you're into. It really does help spread my videos out to a bigger audience who could hit the like button, and then the whole cycle goes again. Also, if you'd like these videos, please hit that subscribe button and click the bell notification to be notified when I release new content. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you real soon.